The sequence for the buyer, according to the contract, is very simple. You'll have buyers that want to do it their way, and you tell them, say, you can reinvent the wheel, but there have been hundreds of thousands of closings from contract to closing that happen according to this sequence. You want to step out of bounds or play it on the sidelines or do things out of sequence, it's going to hurt the deal. If it hurts the deal, obviously, if you're the buyer that wants it or the seller that's trying to sell it, you could lose your earnest money. You could waste money on the inspection. You could burn up a lot of time if you do it your own way. If you don't trust your agent, you shouldn't be using that agent. But I tell people, these things I'm about to tell you, these 5 things are the most important time-sensitive pieces of the sales contract that have a particular sequence. Here we go.
Call or click 404 Eclipse.
Part 1, once you're binding, once everybody agrees and everybody gets a copy and everybody knows you're under contract, once you're binding, that's when the clock starts ticking on the due diligence period, the financing contingency, and the appraisal contingency if it's time sensitive. I say that because FHA doesn't have a clock. Conventional does. You got 30 days from the binding agreement. If the appraisal comes in low, within 30 days, you've got to ask, according to the appraisal contingency, you've got to ask the seller to come down. If you have a contract for 300 and it appraises for 250, that's time sensitive. For conventional, basically all other kinds of financing except FHA. FHA is like, no, however long it takes, that's how long it takes. But the big 5, here they are. You got to get your earnest money to the holder according to the contract. That's contractual. You say you'll have it within 3 days of binding, you have to have it there. Most states say that the holder has to have it within 5 business days of the binding. So that's the earnest money. Second, if you say you're going to take 2 days to provide the proof of funds, which means I do have the financial means to buy this house, if that's also contractual. The other 3, due diligence period, 10 days, let's say, it's mutually agreed upon. Doesn't have to be 10, but that's enough. Financing contingency, 12 or 15 days. Anybody comes at you saying they need 40, 30, 35 days for a financing contingency, they need to start over, because a couple things are in play here. They really 30 days to see if they can get a loan and they've already got a contract? No, that's not, or they're trying to get a contract? That's not going to work. And before you say, no, we're not going to accept 30 days for the financing contingency, call the lender and say, hey, lender, we're about to come down to about 14 days. Don't want you to spook. I don't want to spook you, or I don't want to spook the buyer, because it seems like a strong buyer, but we're not doing 30 days financing contingency. We'll do 12 or 15. Make sure the lender's okay with it, and make sure the lender tells the buyer, oh, we can do this. We can, that financing contingency, it's fine if it expires in 14 days. So that's the second one. Third one is what I've already mentioned, is the appraisal contingency. So those 5, here they are again. Earnest money has to be delivered to the holder according to the contract, typically 5 days or less. Proof of funds, if you're paying cash, that's contractual too. Whatever you put in the contract, proof of funds will be delivered within 2, 3, 4 days of the binding agreement. Can't be too far. Nobody's going to tie up a house, put it under contract, and wait a week to see if you can even, if you even have the means to buy it. Number 3 is due diligence period. Number 4 is the financing contingency, and number 5 is the appraisal contingency. Those things are on the buyer's side, that if they don't do, they can be in breach and lose the deal, or they can lose earnest money, or they can waste money on an inspection. If they don't follow the sequence, those are the kinds of things that can happen.